This is a hook. This is a scripted hook. This whole thing is a hook, and this episode is about how do you get people's attention in the first 5 seconds. I hope we did it. Here we go. Hey, everybody, welcome into Radical Content, another episode of the podcast 20 today. A lot of good stuff, some great segments we'll talk about here in a moment. But this podcast is for you, the marketers, the brand storytellers that want to create content differently and to build emotional relationships with customers. That's what we're here for. And so that's what we're going to do. A bunch of really cool segments today that we'll get started talking about. The first one is going to be LinkedIn Scroll. We've already kind of augmented it a little bit. It was LinkedIn Reactions before. We're going LinkedIn Scroll, and it's going to be news and notes that we're seeing come across. We'll reintroduce that here in a moment as we get into it. Our featured segment today is going to be called the Content Lab. When we take you into the Content Lab, this is teaching, this is training, this is something that we've developed over many, many years of doing this, and we want to help you do that today. It is all about earning the click. So I can't wait to get into the Content Lab, and then we are going to end the show with Content of the Week. It's going to be a full, robust show. We're super pumped to get into it, so here we go. LinkedIn Scroll is going to be the news and notes of the world of content, of the world of storytelling. And some of these might not always be lined up perfectly with what's going on in the news because we're recording these a little bit early. But this week was April Fool's. And so you're going to see this in a few weeks. And that's totally okay because there's still tons of great learnings. And, you know, April Fool's is an interesting thing for marketers, especially for a lot of the people that watch this show or social media marketers. And I love to kind of highlight and see what brands are doing on April Fool's. I don't really know why this became such a thing for social media managers, if I'm honest. Like, I originally used to think it was just kind of lazy, right? Like, we're looking for national days of, National Taco Day, National Tequila Day, you know, April Fool's, great. It'll help us fill up our calendar. But it became a thing. And like brands everywhere doing stuff. And there's really two sides of the coins. And our examples that you'll see today that we'll talk about really kind of echo those two sides of the coin. So you'll see here on screen that Reese's got started with a fun little piece where they're talking about Reese's peanut butter cup bread. So they obviously didn't make the bread. I would try it. Like I'm a Reese's peanut butter cup fan, like fan for life kind of guy. So I would try it. Obviously it's not real. Some of the clients that we work with, they did some fun stuff too as well. But they kind of leaned into the bit, right? People love it. People comment. And there's a ton of engagement that happened on these. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. Everybody does it differently. If you juxtapose that to Dunkin', so you can see what Dunkin' did. And Dunkin' just kind of wanted to do something for their fans. And they didn't play up the whole idea of April Fool's. They really just kind of, what I told Brittany beforehand is they weren't playing ball. They didn't want to come up with some shtick. They didn't want to come up with some bits. And they kind of just like, we're going to do something fun for our fans. And still kind of high engagement. They had some fun with it. So here's my thing in this. This is kind of the news of the notes. This is what's happening. But my take on this is there's two kinds of social media managers when it comes to April Fool's Day. There's ones that love it and there's ones that hate it. I kind of lean on the side of not super loving it. But if you're out there and this is what it takes to spark creativity, then, you know, have some fun, Reese's, and send me some peanut butter cups. That'd be really, really cool. All right. So our next story today is, this is a fun one. My kids have recently gotten into Nick DiGiovanni. I think I'm saying his name right. YouTuber, late 20s, I think 28-year-old kid. He looks like he's 21 years old, but he's like this kind of phenom chef. And he wants to become the most subscribed chef on YouTube. He recently passed one of his kind of idols in Gordon Ramsay, who's got a ton of really great content. I've actually created steaks off of his YouTube channel before. And so I dove into this. He's doing a 7-day subathon to become the #1 YouTuber when it comes to being a chef. And so I wanted to read a couple things from this. It's 7 days. They're doing daily giveaways. He's posting every single day, and he's really trying to go from 23.5 million subscribers to up over 28. I think at the time we're recording this, he's at about 25 and a half. So he has had some significant growth. My kids did make sure that we have subscribed, so we are a part of that growth. But this was a quote from Nick DiGiovanni, and they were talking about this. The goal of this campaign is to simply engage our audience in a way that's never been done before on the platform. that we're always looking for ways to push the boundaries in food content in general. Man, this gets me so excited. And look, I know this is a creator, it's not a brand, and we're talking to a lot of storytellers from brands. But to me, the best place to look for inspiration is inside the creator world. And so often, brands are talking about the message that they want to push on people rather than how can we create daily value for our audience on these platforms and how can we really invest in building audience. Like that's what they're doing because he understands the long-term value of building this audience. And so, there's a lot more I could talk about this story. I love it. I think my household is now fully subscribed, and so I'm sure we're gonna get. My son is trying a lot of new things. By the way, he tried like 3 types of raw fish recently. Didn't like any of them, for the record. But it really does kind of work, and I think that brands just got to really consider what could you do? Could you do a 10-day subathon on Instagram? Or I think that brands sometimes thinks it feels promotional in nature rather than value based. But like that's up to you to decide what's promotional. If you create value in their lives, and every day you're doing something, every day you're doing giveaways, that will become valuable. I think the other thing that brands have done is we've shifted a long ways away from giveaways. I think that giveaways for the longest time were like, come sign up for this credit card and maybe you'll get a towel. And that's not valuable at all. Nobody wants to do that. But man, I've had some big success in social media campaigns with giveaways. And so, these influencers using it. I think brands need to continue to use this idea of giveaways. It's definitely a hack that I feel like was overplayed and then kind of went away. So something just to keep top of mind as we look at the news and notes inside of LinkedIn Scroll. That was a fun one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Content Lab. Things are getting more serious. Not really. But what we want to do today in these segments with the Content Lab is I hope these are really actual kind of functional, tangible teaching moments. I spent 16 years in social and digital content. Before that, I was in radio creating content. And I've learned a lot of frameworks, a lot of strategies to do things, to come up with great ideas, to master the art of individual channels. And so what we want the Content Lab to be is either teaching and frameworks of things I've done or just things I'm learning. I'm constantly bringing the team new things I'm reading and learning. And so today, what we wanted to do was actually a similar training to one that we did with our team recently. People love to talk about hooks when it comes to content. I want to talk about it in a new way, which I've kind of borrowed a little bit from Colin and Samir, if you know their YouTube channel. But they talk about the art of earning the click. It is a new media world, right? And getting people to consume content for us to connect and for us to build relationships is harder than ever. But it's also really, really fun, kind of the art and the science of it all, of how do we try to get people to click. So something I'm passionate about, but also still learning, is how do you do a good job with your content? So this is probably going to feel more YouTube focused, but I believe the principles in what we're going to talk about today are outstretched YouTube. You can take it into TikTok. You can take it into Instagram Reels. So I think that there are really some core principles you need to think about. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of different mechanics that we have to think about when we are trying to get someone to click. So they are scrolling on my phone they're scrolling every single day, right? And they're just kind of, you're trying to find a way to create a moment that will stop them. And even if you're on YouTube and there's so many videos on the right-hand featured side or at the end of a video, there's so many opportunities for people to consume content. So what are you going to do? How are we going to do something to capture their attention? Man, I've been a part of so many brands that just push content out on the platforms. They think they make something good and creative and they push it out, and they don't think about the details and the intricacies that it takes to actually get someone's attention. And it's a lot more than just a visual or verbal hook in the video. So I'm going to try to get my team to put a little design here up on the board. And I'm going to talk about what I'm calling this earning the click framework. So it's just a square box. And in the center of the square box is the idea. Everything starts with the idea. We're not going to talk right now about how you come up with great ideas. But If you are not creating content your audience actually wants, if you're not doing research on YouTube, on TikTok, seeing what's popular, seeing what they care about, then the rest of what we're going to talk about doesn't really matter. We have to do a really great job of creating content, the idea, the concept of what we're wanting to tell people. We've got to do a really, really great job of making that thing interesting. And so that's the first one. And again, we'll do full breakdowns of how do we come up with ideas, how do we research, how do we look at best practices, how do we brainstorm. There's a lot of ways that we've done this over the years that I think we've mastered, that I think we can share. But today we want to talk about how do we earn that click. It's so important. The first one, after you got the great idea, is what is the title? And some of these things you're going to say, okay, Eric, yeah, we know title and description matter. But there's a lot of people that still aren't doing it, right? So the title of this platform is so, so important. We were having some discussions earlier this week about naming a podcast, and I was like, it's got to be something that gets people's attention, but it's also got to be something that tells you the actual value that you're getting, what this video really, really means. If it's too creative or too fluffy and it sounds good, no one's going to actually click on it. So you got to ask yourself, will this title make someone click? I do that all the time, and we spend sometimes hours trying to change the title and come up with it. It's so, so, so important. So title, number one. Thumbnail, number two. And the thumbnail and the title can't be the same thing. We're re-evolving kind of our even how we do YouTube a little bit. And this is, think Instagram too, right? Title, and there's a thumbnail, a vertical thumbnail and Reels for Instagram. So this isn't just for YouTube, but really, really important for YouTube. What are you doing on that thumbnail? And it depends what you're doing, right? If you're doing an interview podcast, what's the thing that's going to get someone's attention? Maybe it is the face of the guest, because the guest is so important and so noticeable. Maybe use the face of the guest and the name of the guest in the title. But all of these things are important, but you don't want to duplicate. You don't want to have the title and the thumbnail delivering the same information. They should support each other. The thumbnail should push you to want to know more, so they go immediately to the title, and the title should push you to want to go more, so you go immediately to the thumbnail. If you do these things right, better chance that you will actually get people to watch. The other one that people don't think about in that box, so you've got title, you've got thumbnail, is the hover. And this is really a YouTube thing. People nowadays will literally hover over the video to see what that clip looks like in the first 5 or 6 seconds. And if that clip doesn't look interesting or compelling, this is a Mr. Beast hack, right? Like he knows when that hover is going to happen, and he has something crazy, an explosion, a reaction of someone that is going to make someone go, I've got to watch this, right? I've got to understand, because when you're thinking about the idea of earning the click, you're trying to create some sort of curiosity or information gap. You've said something, but you haven't closed the loop. People want to know what that is. So the information gap is what we're trying to do for people to make them want to do that. So you've got title, thumbnail, hover. And the last one, and this is the one that people spend the most time on, and it's good, is the actual hook in the video, right? So you've gotten their attention. They've clicked on it. They're engaged in your content, and you've got 4 seconds to really make them care. That's it. 4 seconds to make them stick around and decide if they're going to scroll or not. And that's a lot of pressure. Again, how are we using the information gap when we're in those moments? How are we creating something? I'm always a little bit leery to kind of do these on the fly, but how are we doing something where it's like, hey man, we've got 5 things that you need to know right now. There are a lot of different ways in for different content, for different brands. And sometimes I think that brands look at creators and they're like, that's what creators do. That's not what brands do. I don't want to sound like I'm the guru. I don't want to sound so cheesy like the creators do. And my pitch to you would be like, just do what works. Test it out. Find out ways that you can create a curiosity or information gap in those first 4 to 6 seconds that are going to make people stick around, because the back half of the video literally doesn't matter if you aren't doing all of these things to earn the click. The back half of the video could be the greatest piece of content ever, and we've lost them. And one of my giant pet peeves, and I talk about this with CMOs and directors of marketing, directors of social all the time, is I hate content that gets created that no one sees. It would break my heart if there are people that have already clicked off of this and walked away. because we didn't take the time to be the best we could be in content. Like, that is something that we have got to really stop. And dude, there is so much content that's being created today that no one sees. There's so many newsletters, there's so many TikToks, there's so many YouTubes. We are in a content overload, and it's just because there's some people that aren't willing to do the hard work. So we got to think about this earning the click framework. What is the idea? Is it compelling? Do we have a great title? Does that title support the thumbnail? Do we consider the hover on YouTube? Do we think about that? And have we really spent great time on the hook? I know some people that will actually create 3 different hooks for a talking head video, and they'll post it onto TikTok, and they'll see which one worked, what kept people on longer. And then they'll take that video and they'll put it on YouTube, they'll put it on Instagram, and they'll put it all over the place. But that's the kind of diligence it's going to take for us to create content that breaks through. So I wanted to kind of give you some examples here that we can play a couple clips of. I won't play them here. We'll play them and just pause for a second. But I did talk about Colin and Samir. These guys have been studying and doing YouTube for a long time. They originally started a lacrosse channel. Now they kind of cover creators. They recently had a podcast with a guy by the name of Jack Conti, who is responsible for one of the major kind of community platforms today. And you've got to see this thumbnail, the title, and then you've got to watch this first like 8 to 6 seconds that they did, because this is a masterclass, and there's no reason that brands can't do this.
You have said we might be witnessing the death of the follower.
There's a new discovery layer of the internet, and I think that has like massive implications.
Every time we hang out, I think it's so bizarre that you're like a tech CEO.
The smartest people in the world are often wrong.
Oh, it's now more possible than ever, but maybe it's not.
I wish more creators knew that.
And that's my honest opinion.
That's one of the best ones I've ever heard.
I can't have my creativity pay my bills. So what do we do?
Name another business who doesn't get to reach their customers. It doesn't have to be that way. Like, it just doesn't have to.
That takes time. Man, these guys know that this stuff matters, and they're not playing around. Like, they're becoming experts at this. Now, I want to show you a video from Salesforce. I don't know why I'm picking on Salesforce, but I wanted to kind of try to pull in a brand. And so this is obviously a giant global B2B brand. They got plenty of money, plenty of resources, and they created this awesome video. But I want you to take a look at it and think about what we just talked about and think about what they could have done better.
These days, being connected is an absolute necessity to get through both your personal life and also your business life.
One New Zealand is a telecommunications company that has to operate 24/7.
All right, so here's the interesting thing about that video. It's shot well. It's super creative. It's got great vibes. Like, it's got a good flow. But it was shot like it was shot for TV 10 years ago. Again, nothing wrong with the content if you're in a conference room and there's 4,000 people that are required to watch that. But that's not the world of new media. We are fighting for attention every single day. And so we've got to do everything we can to give ourselves the best shot, the best chance to get people to watch it. And so you watched it. Like, it looked cool, it was shot well, but there was nothing that hooked you in. The title, the description, the thumbnail weren't super great. And so someone put together this artful piece of video that very few people saw. I think it had 969 views when I looked at it. And man, Brittany in here like made a sad face just now. Like, that's what's happening all the time. There's so much content that's good that people aren't seeing. And so that is the earning the click framework. That's what we got to get to. A couple of watch outs for us as we close this out. Some brands will focus on the hook in video, but not other things, right? So spend a lot of time thinking about the hook, but you didn't do anything with the title or the description or the thumbnail that made them come in. These all work together. That's why it's a framework. Some people will create a hook. I'm doing hook in air quotes, but it's average. It's not that great. They don't really take the time to be honest with themselves and say, is this the best way to get someone to watch this video? I mean, Brittany, you can like be honest with me, shake your head. Like, we spend a lot of time talking about, no, that's not the right word. That's not going to get their attention. Like, that hook's not good. How can we create something better? And the thing I hate about the word hook is it feels salesy, right? It feels like you're trying to hook someone into something they don't want. And that's why we kind of started talking about the phrase earning the click, because a hook shouldn't be salesy. And by the way, hooks and Mechanics in video is not, to get people to watch, is not new. Cliffhangers been around for years in TV. HGTV has mastered the curiosity gap when they do a show where they're remodeling a bedroom and the bedroom looks like crap and you just have to see the end, but you can't fast forward it like we can on YouTube, right? So there's a lot of things that have happened in radio back in the day. We would say, you're not going to believe this story that happened yesterday, and we'll tell you after the break. What's that? That's a tease. All of these things have existed before, but they are being they're being heavily leveraged in these digital platforms. So we got to respect, and we can't keep talking about, oh yeah, hooks are important. Oh yeah, thumbnails and titles are pretty good. We got to become experts in it. To go back to an episode, a few episodes ago, we gotta go pro. Even how we are earning that click. A couple more takeaways. We don't have time to be excellent. We got a lot of content to produce. We just got to push this thing out and get it done. And man, I would just say you don't have time to not be excellent. Like it's so important. And the last one, and I'm looking and I'm leaning into my creative folks. I get it. You're storytellers, you're creatives. There's so much texture and vibe in what you're doing. And the hook can take away from the spirit of what you're doing, the cinematicness, I don't know if that's a word, probably not a word, but whatever. We're going to roll with it. It's going to take away from it. And I've heard this many times from directors, from filmmakers, from people that sit in a creative world. And I respect it. I respect that this is an art and a craft. But I'm just telling you, if your ultimate goal is to get people to see your art and to see your craft, we have to change the way we bring people in. Got it? That's it. That is earning the click framework. Hope you guys enjoyed the content lab today. We'll do more of these. I think we're going to be doing one every 4 weeks. But that was fun for me. So here we go. Content of the week. All right, content of the week. The goal of this is sharing 1 to 3 standout brand pieces of content that have come live in the last few weeks to bring it to you guys as inspiration. I love, before a brainstorm, just looking to see what people are doing, scrolling through YouTube, scrolling through TikTok. So that's kind of what this is. It's us curating a bunch of really cool stuff and trying to bring you the top things, to you in the podcast. By the way, we're doing a weekly content of the week newsletter that some of the people on the team are writing, and I just saw the latest episode that's going to drop here pretty soon. So make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. I'm sure Brittany will make a ding, or someone will, and there'll be a link somewhere in here. If not, it'll be in the comments, depending on the platform you're on. But make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. You'll get inspirational content of the week every single week, and a lot more than we're talking about here. But 2 things that really stood out today. And the first one was, every now and then a piece of content comes across your feed and you know it's an ad, you know it's from a brand, but you look at it and you're like, holy crap, this is so genius. Who thought of this? How can I steal it? How can I borrow it? So this is from the Miami Tourism Board. So if you don't know, we are in Orlando, Florida. So I am somewhat adjacent to, Miami's a different world, let's be honest, but I'm somewhat adjacent to the general area. And I've heard things about spring breaks around the Florida area. And I've heard that things get a little crazy down in Miami, but I didn't know to what extent. And then I stumbled onto this crazy, funny reality television spoof of a piece of content from the Miami Tourism Board. You got to watch a clip of this.
Miami Beach, here we come.
Let's go, let's go.
Miami Beach! We got this sick penthouse view of Miami Beach.
I'm here to have the best spring break ever.
Spring break, baby!
This is my playground.
Once we got to Miami Beach, things went downhill fast.
Is this for us?
How you guys doing? What's going on?
You're drinking in public. That's not allowed. This speaker, that's not allowed.
Rule after rule after rule.
What do you want me to do?
I don't want you to do
We didn't know the rules.
Are you right now?
This is so annoying.
Apparently, the only thing that wasn't contraband was the grapes and the cheese.
This video is it's really insane, but it can't help but do a few things. First and foremost, fully get your attention, right? Like they did a full spoof video of what looks like, I don't know, The Bachelor, Love Island. I don't even know these shows anymore. Those are still 2 shows that are still happening, right? They did a complete spoof. You've got these teenagers. These girls are fighting. People are crying. The police show up. And it is just so good. But here's the funny thing, man. It's really on point for the brand. Like, they have a problem. There's too many people showing up. They've got curfew. People get upset. There's a lot of things that are happening down there that are not great. And they didn't like shy away from it. They also didn't create some boring video that's like a police officer saying, hey, curfew's at this time. Be aware. Here's the rules. They created something fun and interesting because they know to get the attention of the people that they're talking to, we've got to package this in a way that they might care about. And if you saw this come across your newsfeed, you probably thought it was a reality show. And man, they did it down to the T. The guy screaming on the balcony, the girls crying and throwing water at one of the girls' faces. Some of the people in the room that we're recording right now haven't seen this video, and they're going, what the heck is this video? And they will find out when they edit this thing, because it was so funny, so good, and so on message for the brand. And how can you do this? They've literally created a fake reality show, and they said it in the end. They're like, this is a fake reality show, but our rules are not. So go watch the whole video. Super, super good. Miami Tourism Board, thank you for contributing to Content of the Week. You know, sometimes we're going to talk about big brands, and sometimes we're going to talk about some people that are just doing amazing stuff that can inspire us. All right, the next one is a smaller one. Big sports fan, not a huge golf fan, but the Masters is doing something different. If you're familiar with the Masters up in Augusta, Georgia, every year, it is this traditional, celebrated institution for golf. Like, you're not allowed to have your phones on the golf course. You can't like call and connect to people and meet up. You got to like set like your schedule of where you're going to meet them and the time. And so they protect the brand of the Masters, and they've done it always when they talk about how they promote the Masters. Well, this is a promo video for the upcoming Masters, and I want to see if you notice what I notice in this clip. There's so many different aspects of how we make great content. We talked about things like earning the click and using the platforms, but you know, I will bring my creatives back in, and I'll talk about music and the texture and the vibe that it can create. And I love the juxtaposition in this promo, and they did this with all of their content, where you see these traditional, inspirational visuals mixed with Noah Kahan's new rendition of Georgia on My Mind. There's an article written that talks about how can the Masters and ESPN, the broadcasting the Masters, try to find a way to reach younger audiences. Well, the way you do it is you look for partnerships with people that are connecting. I brought up Noah Kahan before the show, and I was like, you know this person? You know this person? And a bunch of the people in the room knew him. One of them, Dalton, was singing some of the music, and they kind of told me a little bit of the story, like popular on TikTok, during COVID. Kind of, I think Dalton's line was, it was what the internet was made for. Is like finding these, talented people that have an opportunity to break out. And that's just what happened. He breaks out on TikTok, gets really popular. Now he's publishing his own things. He's covering things. He's working with other artists. And there's been a slew of musicians that this has happened to. You know, back in the day, I'll say back in the day, I guess back in the day, it was people were just discovered by producers. Then people were discovered by American Idol. Now it's YouTube, right? And it's been that way for now 10 or 15 years. And now I guess it's more TikTok, which is just a crazy world. But the interesting thing from a brand perspective is looking for ways to use music to tell stories, but to go a level deeper and to say, who can we partner with that we will earn a little bit more trust with an audience that we're trying to connect with? And I'm not going to lie. I mean, we can play a little clip right now. I don't think that ASCAP or BMI is going to come after us. We'll play a little music, lift it up right here. Like, I can get down with this vibe a little bit. I'm probably adding this to my playlist. So the Masters hooked me in, and another just great example for Content of the Week. How are we using music and modern music to really pull our audience in and to build a relationship? And that is Content of the Week. That's it. Episode 20, Radical Content in the books. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying seeing us kind of tweak some of these segments and really focusing them in on value. It's what we talk about with you guys. We're literally doing it in real time. How can we make content reactions a little bit differently? I think content scroll and news and notes is a little bit better for the audience. So we're constantly tweaking, but thank you for being a part of this journey. And look, at the end of the day, we do this to provide value for you. And the only way that we can continue to do this is if more people are seeing this, we'll produce more content, right? So this is where I kind of ask you to like and subscribe, add a review if you can. And I know that it's important for me to say this, as cheesy as it is, because I've seen the research. When you tell people to like and subscribe, a higher percentage will. So if you liked this, take a moment and subscribe so you don't miss it. We're doing these things weekly, and we're really having a blast pulling this stuff together. So thank you for watching Radical Content, and we'll talk real soon. Appreciate it, everybody.